Facebook. We're on now. Alright, we'll get started. First of all, thanks everyone for tuning in. We have Aiden, my cousin here from the under 12, two boys. He's going to do the stuff with us as well. Today's session is about basic shooting technique. I want to start by saying that this is just one of many ways to teach shooting. There's multiple ways, and I think it's important for athletes to find whatever best suits them. However, this is how I teach shooting. It falls in line a little bit with the guidance from Basketball Australia with the lift, lock, snap. We want to make sure that we start with our good foundation, so you don't need a ball to start with. So the first thing with shooting is always your feet and your stance. So a lot of people say have your feet shoulder width apart. After we had a shooting coach came out to Casey, he had a saying around have your feet hip width apart. That's something that we've now adopted, so I want our players to think about the inside of their feet on the outside of their hips. The inside of your feet on the outside of your hips. Obviously you want to make sure you have a nice wide stance, not a narrow stance. So if you have a nice wide stance, you're obviously on balance. If you go too wide, you won't be able to generate enough power. Obviously too narrow, you'll be off balance, okay? So just keep thinking about the inside of your feet on the outside of your hips. The second thing I want to talk about is a lead foot. Okay, so if you're right-handed, it's okay for your right foot to be slightly forward. If you're left-handed, it's okay for your left foot to be slightly forward. How far forward? I generally use the length of your toes as a guideline. However, if you look at your shoes and you bend your toe up, you'll see where your shoe starts to crease. That's about how far forward that you want it. So for me, I'm right-handed, Aiden's right-handed as well. So inside of his feet, outside of his hips, his right foot's going to be slightly forward with the crease in his shoe, just that far forward, okay? Some people see split stance with, 11 and 1 o'clock. However, I like to teach a neutral stance. That way when you create power, it's all going positively towards the rim, okay? Whatever you do, it has to be most comfortable for you. So, we want to talk about generating power and having everything in a line. So, if we think about, for me, right-handed, if you're left-handed, everything will be with your left. But I want to think about your right toe, your right knee, your right hip, all being in a line. So as we bend down, we want to make sure that's all in a line. It's obviously not going out. We're not dipping in like this where possible, because remember, we want to generate the middle of our body going up and towards the middle of the rim. So toe, knee, hip, all in a line. We want to make sure that we get our elbow in a line as well with our knee, and the middle of our hand also. That might be your index finger. That also might be in between your index finger and your middle finger. Okay, so we had NBA shooting coach Dave Love came out and teach us how to find the middle of our hand earlier last year. And the way to do that is to stretch your hand out where it feels comfortable, so you are getting the biggest spread on the ball possible. Obviously you don't want to be straining, and I want you to grab your index finger and your middle finger on your other hand and measure the distance between your thumb and your index finger. Okay? If you then keep that distance and measure between your index finger and your middle finger, if that is not the same, that means that your index finger is not in the middle of the ball or in the middle of your hand. So if that is slightly off, that means that you will need to adjust your hand position on the ball. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So we've got our feet, toe, knee, hip, elbow, middle of our hand, all in a line. Okay, we're now in our set position. The things that I want us to remember is lift, lock, snap. Okay, so we're going to have strong wrist, lift, lock, snap, pointing down towards the middle of the rim. We're going to go 5 repetitions now. As we do this, we're going to step up onto our toe, lift, lock, snap as far forward as we can until we have to step forward with our opposite foot. So we're going to go 5 of these. We're doing them together 8. Okay? Lift, lock, snap, step. Okay? So you're stepping with your left foot. Right? You've got 4 more. Lift, lock, snap. Done. Good. Okay, 3 more. Lift, lock, snap. Good. 2 more. Lift, lock, snap. Stepping forward. Last one here. Lift, lock, snap. Good job. So when you land, obviously you want your energy going towards the rim, not too far forward. When you jump, you want to make sure that the middle of your body is creating energy towards the middle of the rim. Okay? So when we jump, obviously the last thing to leave the ground are our toes. That's why we practice that drill. So we're up onto our toes as we follow through and then we step forward. Okay, elbow position. We see a lot of different people with different shooting techniques. Some people have over-exaggerated inside elbow, that doesn't work. Some people have a nice elbow out wide. That's not what we want either. Bottom line, remember we want to try and keep everything as lined up as possible, whereas it's still comfortable. Okay, you don't want to be like a robot, that's not going to be good for you either. You want to make sure that your elbow position is close to the middle of your hand and close to your knee and hip and toe, that's all in a line as well. When we finish in our snap position, our elbow should end up around our eyebrows. Okay, so we're not pushing the ball forward, right? We're not pushing it straight up in the air, we're pushing it up and forward. So our elbow will end up towards our eyebrow. Okay, so we're going to practice some of that now. We don't need to step forward. We're going to get in our set position, lift, lock, snap. Okay, good. We've got 4 more of these. Lift, lock, snap. Lift, lock, snap. 2 more. Lift, lock, snap. We'll go 1 more time. Lift, lock, snap. All right, let's go to basketballs. Okay, so hand coverage is an important thing on the ball. I want you to think much the same like a car tyre. So if you have a skinny car tyre that only has a small amount of surface area that makes traction on the road, as opposed to a wide car tyre that has a lot of coverage on the road. So that's what we want to think about with our hand on the ball. So if we have our hand narrow like this on the ball, we're not going to be able to have a lot of control over it. However, if we spread our hand on the ball, we have a lot more coverage on the ball. Thinking about the middle of the ball, the easiest thing and the easiest way to find the middle of the ball is the needle hole. And we obviously, you're not going to look for that during the game, but while we're practicing our shooting technique, we want to work on the middle of our hand, on the middle of the ball. So for me, the middle of my hand, based on what we did earlier, is in between my index finger and my middle finger. For some people, it might be your index finger. So for me, I'm going to cover the split line of the ball, which is that needle hole, with my index finger and also with my middle finger. A lot of people start with their hand on top of the ball. However, I think that your hand should start underneath the ball. Same as when you're catching the ball, you should have what we call hungry hands. I've heard some people say hungry hands and greedy eyes, which means they want the ball. You want to make sure that your wrist is back. No matter how old you are, the kids hear me talk about this a lot. If you bend your wrist back, you'll be able to see and you'll have wrist wrinkles. Doesn't matter how old you are, okay? So we want to make sure that when we have the ball, our hand is back and underneath the ball. If it's on top of the ball, we end up pushing it forward, not shooting it up and over in towards the rim. Okay, so hand position on the ball, spread fingers. We're not worrying about our guide hand for now. So we're going to sit it here. We want to make sure that this is nice and square, okay, in a 90-degree angle. Another way to tell is if you sit the ball on your bicep, you should be able to push your hand back flat on the ball like this. Okay, so once again, if you take that around, find the middle of the ball, everything should be straight, spread fingers on the ball. So just going to step back a little bit now. Okay, so remember, inside of our feet, outside of our hips, shooting foot slightly forward. We're going to put our hand underneath the ball now. Okay, this is our set position. We're going up into our lift lock step. We're going to have a nice spread fingers on the ball, and we're looking for the rotation of the ball stepping forward. Pick a target, or if you've got a line in front of you, put your right foot on it. So imagine it's a straight line. So for me, I might use this as a marker here. I'm going to line my right foot up with that. I'm going to line the center of the ball up with that. And I'm going to try and have the ball bounce on the line in line with my target. So everything's in a straight line. So you pick a line as well, Aiden. Just with your right hand, lift, lock, snap. Pretty good. So we want to bounce the ball just in front so it comes back to you. Working on rotation of the ball. Lift, lock, snap. Trying to get it to bounce in a straight line. Working on the rotation of the ball. Remember, hand position, wrist position, lift, lock, snap. Spread fingers, lift, lock, snap. Keep working on it. This is something that you can practice if you have somebody at home. You can do it with a partner, you can shoot the ball back to each other. Spread fingers on the ball, everything can align. Toe, knee, hip, elbow, shoulder, middle of your hand on the middle of the ball, working on that rotation. Guide hand, let's talk about our guide hand quickly. Guide hand is not to interrupt the flow of the ball. These balls that we use for BJBL obviously have a distinct colour pattern, so you can tell if you're throwing the ball and the ball is spinning sideways. Okay, every time you catch the ball, no matter how it is, it should always spin perfectly backwards when you shoot it. So your guide hand is just that. It doesn't come on top of the ball, it doesn't come in front of the ball, it comes on the side of the ball. Okay, so if we get our hand position with our shooting hand in line with the middle of the ball as we talked about, and our guide hand goes on the side of the ball. Okay, what I often talk about, obviously my hands are a little bit bigger than Aiden's at the moment, but if I bring my hand down, you can see that my two thumbs are actually creating the shape of a T. Okay, they don't actually have to touch, but they're creating the shape of a T. When I finish shooting, my thumbs create that shape of a T again. I don't push in with this hand, I don't push down with that hand. My thumbs start in a T with the ball, and they finish in a T. Okay, so once again, elbow, eyebrow, strong wrist, toe, knee, hip, elbow, middle of the ball, all in a line. We're going to practice 5 of these shots now, where I want you to check the tee before you shoot it, then I want you to check the tee after you shoot it. Okay, so we're going to go 5. We'll go 5 from now. That's one. Remember, you're trying to get it on the line, trying to get it on the line. Check the tee before, check the tee after. Got 3 more here. Trying to get that elbow up around your eyebrow. Trying to get the elbow up around your eyebrow. Good job. Last one here. Good job. Okay, so just recapping, the most important part of your shot is actually the preparation before it. You're never as open as what you are when you first catch the ball, so that means you've got to have hungry hands and greedy eyes. You've got to be ready in your stance, whether it's a catch and shoot, you might step through it. We'll get to some of that in later weeks. We want to make sure that the inside of our feet is on the outside of our hips. Square stance facing the basket. If you're right-handed, that's fine. Have your right foot slightly forward to the length of your toes. Want to make sure everything is in a line. Need to find the middle of our hand on the middle of our ball. Wrist wrinkles, elbow in line with our knee. Lift, lock, snap, elbow up towards our eyebrow. Strong wrist, strong follow through. Guide hand is exactly on the side of the ball. We want to make sure that they both finish up. I see some kids, obviously it's a power thing, trying to generate like this, okay, and we get this torque. Want to make sure that everything is square, shoulders, toes square, facing our target, and that our guide hand is also finishing up with our elbows around our eyebrows, and that we have that T at the start of our shot and the T at the end of our shot. Keep working on your shot, Cavs. Well done. Oh yeah, give us a full 5.